I've been coming to Greece since 2013 to coach all of the competitors in the MIT Enterprise Forum of Greece Accelerator. So I can say things like but not much else. Anyway, they've been a great team to work with. I'm so appreciative of being here. And I also want to say special thanks for the two gentlemen in the back of the room who have done their absolute best to make this my favorite kind of a setup. My friends in the back of the room. Okay, so we'll just let the last couple people come in. You can keep letting them come in whenever. I'm just going to get started, although we have only a couple of seats left here. Maybe I should get my crap. Well, who can sit there? Do it this way. Ooh, I forgot to set an alarm for when I'm getting close to the end. This won't be any fun to sit at anyway. All right, so I normally teach this. This is 16 hours of content that I teach in at least 2 days that I've tried to cram into a single hour. I'm not going to make it. It's good. It's important that we know this. So I'm going to just set myself a 45-minute alarm to tell myself when I have to really accelerate. Okay? All right, are we all set? Ready to go? Rock and roll, baby? Okay, so welcome. My name is Linda Plano, and I have the best job in the world because I get to work with smart, creative, and passionate people, just like all of you, and help you make your dreams come true. In fact, I've worked with well over 1,000 entrepreneurs over the years, and they've gone on to raise over $1.3 billion. Today, we're going to go step by step through my tried and true process for translating your value proposition into a compelling pitch for investors, customers, partners, whoever it is that you most care about. And if you follow this process with hard work, vision, and integrity, you're going to have the best pitch for your business, your innovation that you've ever had, and that is a promise. All right, I hope that makes you feel like you are in the right place. This is me on a better hair day. I am an entrepreneur coach. This is all I do for a living. I have been fortunate to be part of the MIT Enterprise Forum, various chapters, but I do this for all technologies, all markets. It doesn't matter. I've helped everybody from a grocery store cashier who wanted to pitch herself in a job interview up to people who are raising $40 million from high-powered investors. Doesn't matter. What you learn here works every time. I am a scientist by training. I am a business person by experience. Oops, I should do that one next, I guess. I've been a research scientist and a CEO of startup companies and up to vice president for new business development in more established companies. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 9 years old, selling Moomin Troll bookmarks and reversible tote bags to my fellow fourth graders, okay? Entrepreneurship is not a job description. Being an entrepreneur is a state of mind. An entrepreneur sees an opportunity to make something amazing happen, and then they figure out what resources they need to actually make it happen. And unlike 99% of the other people in the world, they go out, get the resources, and execute. That's what sets entrepreneurs apart, and that's why it's so exciting and great to work with them. All right, so for today, fasten your seatbelt, please. We're going through my perfect pitch philosophy. Don't worry, perfection is not required or even desirable. And we're going to go through my favorite tools. 3 parts of every pitch, 2 things you have to be aware of for every audience, and the 10 questions every pitch should answer. I'm not sure when we're going to have time for real-time coaching, but I will stick around after the second version of this because I'm doing another one right after I finish this one. If you want to come back or stick around, I don't care. I'd be happy to coach anybody who wants it enough, okay? And of course, ask me a question if you can interrupt me. Okay, so first and foremost, perfect pitch philosophy. What I want you to do here, perfect pitch is about tuning your words for the ears of your particular audience, okay? Not about perfection. My tagline is, life's a pitch, make yours amazing. And that's because anytime you ask people to do something they weren't already planning to do, you're actually pitching to them. I don't care if you're asking them to go try out this crazy new restaurant, go on a vacation somewhere, invest a bunch of money in what you're doing, your board of directors, they don't want to fund or agree to your next strategy, all of those things. It's always a pitch, okay? In fact, I have used this very same technique for all kinds of audiences, all kinds of venues, and all kinds of media. Make yours amazing is because when you pitch with vision and integrity and passion, you're more likely to convince your audience that this is what they want to do. They want to have a piece of that vision. They don't want you to leave them behind. So they're more likely to invest their resources in accomplishing that vision, which means you're more likely to accomplish your vision. And when you accomplish your vision, what do you get? The life that you want. That's why it's life's a pitch, not just a pitch. Life's a pitch. Make both of those things amazing. Now, you might be wondering what the heck we can possibly be doing with yet another pitch template, right? Because there's literally millions of free versions and for all different kinds of things, board presentations, sales pitches, one-pagers, research proposals, you name it. Well, my feeling is templates are evil. All right, that's a little bit of an overstatement. Templates can be helpful to give you kind of inspiration. Maybe you can't quite figure out how you want to talk about your innovation. Sure, go and look at other people's successful pitches. But the inherent problem with using a template is you are telling your story somebody else's way. And therefore, your integrity and your personality are not going to come out with it. What we want to do is to pitch strategically. Tell your story. Tell it in your way. My job is to help make sure that it is clear, concise, and compelling to your specific audience, okay? That's the hard part. Job security. All right, why do we pitch? Anybody? This is just my excuse to drink coffee, but please answer. You don't know why you want to pitch? What the hell are you doing here? Anybody? Okay, back in the room. That's a very good answer.
To persuade others.
Persuade others, excellent, yes. Anything else? Oh my God.
Share a vision.
Share a vision, I like that, that's good. I don't know, you may have the answer already. I may have to skip over you.
I think we briefly mentioned on that. To inspire others to tag on the same boat with you.
Well, thank you for listening, and I appreciate that. No. Actually, yes, they are all good answers, but the real answer, as far as I'm concerned, I like to think about it sort of like real estate. Top three things: location, 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 right? Top three things in pitching: get the next meeting, get the next meeting, get the next meeting. People invest in people who they know, like, and trust. And you don't get to know, like, and trust somebody just by having a 1-minute pitch or even a 10-minute pitch, right? They don't get to know you well enough. Plus, what does everybody listen to from the moment they get up to the moment they go to bed? They're getting pitched in advertising from startup companies, from companies that want to sell them stuff. Pitch, 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 pitch. You don't have enough time and energy to really understand the nature of all of those pitches. Same thing is true for investors. They have to pick and choose which kinds of technology, which kind of innovations are actually going to take the time to really learn, right? And so what you want to do with this initial pitch is to engage them, to get them excited enough that they say, yeah, this is something I want to do. Let's have a meeting next week. Let's learn a little bit more, okay? That's your sole goal. It's sort of like having a first date. That's why there's a rose up there. A first date with somebody really hot who you want to have a relationship with. So on that first date, never lie, never mislead, right? Because once you blow the trust, it's never going to work, right? On the other hand, you're not going to suddenly announce, oh, hey, by the way, I just got out of prison last week. Or, you know what? I still live with mom. She's awesome. And we're going to live with her forever. Or on the other side, you're not going to announce, oh, by the way, I'm going to inherit €250 million in a couple of years, so stick with me and you'll be rich, right? That is intimate information about you that you don't reveal until you know, like, and trust them. Make sure that you are paying attention to red flags, just like in a romantic relationship. You don't want an investor who doesn't share your values, who doesn't share your vision, because it's always going to come down to a fight, okay? All right, I got to move on. Sorry. I could talk about this for 2 days, which you already know. Okay. First, most important tool I can give you today is 3 parts to every pitch from now on for the rest of your life. Number 1, introduce yourself. A pitch is more a conversation than it is a presentation, okay? And so in your case, what I want to hear is your name, your title, and your company. Right? People listen to what they're hearing differently depending on who is talking to them. Are you a decision maker? Are you a developer? Are you the janitor for the company? How I hear what you say is going to depend on that. It's not fair, but it's the way it works. Make it clear. Okay, at the end, and yes, I know I haven't said number 2 yet. Number 3 is always make an ask. That ask should be tuned very precisely to the people to whom you want to speak. You don't want to attract people who are not of interest to you. You only want to attract the ones that can actually help you achieve what you're doing. So make the ask specific to them. I don't care if you've got 1,000 people in the audience and there's just 3 people out there. I mean, make the pitch itself interesting to the whole thing. But when you get to the ask, you don't want to talk to 997 people. You want to talk to the 3 that can actually help you. Frame the ask that way. All right, in between these 2 quick pieces, everything else you say, and I do mean everything, fight the temptation to want to talk about, here's what we do. I don't care what you do. I don't care. I'm an engineer and I don't care what you do till I know why I should care about it. Why is it important to me? Not why it's important to you. That should come through with your passion and everything, but why I should care about it could be completely different than why you care about it. So be clear on that. And because I'm a scientist, I like to break it down a little further. I like to start off by capturing their imagination. And that can be the size of the market, the magnitude of the pain, the level of innovation, the competitive advantage. Then we validate the claims that we just made with real data, things that you have accomplished, traction, patents, things like that, your business model, your financial projections, if you have them. And then finally, we motivate them to take the action that we want so that when we make the ask, they're ready to do it. Right? So for instance, you could say something like, so hi, my name is Linda Plano, and I have the best job in the world because I get to work with smart, creative, and passionate people just like you and help you make your dreams come true. In fact, I've worked with over 1,000 entrepreneurs over the years, and they've gone on to raise over $1.3 billion. Today, we're going to go step by step through my tried and true process for translating your value proposition into a compelling pitch for investors, customers, partners, whoever it is you want to appeal to. And if you follow this process with hard work, vision, and integrity, you're going to have the best pitch for your business that you've ever had, and that is a promise. So the structure works. It don't care what you're pitching for. You don't have to be asking for money. All right, make sense? Any questions? Everybody excited? Excellent. Okay, very easy for me to tell you. So, okay, just be excited about it. Just tell me why I should care about it. Very hard to do. This is the simplest technique I know of. Now, it might rub some of you the wrong way, and I will give you some additional ways of looking at it if you're one of those people. But this is the way to think about it, okay? Investors are basically very simple creatures. They make up their minds based on just 2 things, fear and greed. Now, if I'm going to be fair, we all make our decisions that way. It's just a matter of what we're fearful of and greedy for, right? For instance, you could have come here fearful that, oh my God, it's a whole hour and I'm missing lunch. And you could be greedy for, well, maybe I'll get some really useful tips and tools out of the whole time. Okay, it doesn't have to be about money. But of course, to first order, when you're pitching to investors, that's what it's going to be. Anyway, in a pitch, you don't have time to teach anyone anything. All you can do is get them so excited about what you're doing that they can't wait to learn more. So everything you say should either reduce fear or increase greed, or preferably both, or it doesn't belong in your pitch. In fact, if you are in a pitch competition where you have 1 minute or 3 minutes or 5 minutes and you keep running long, go through your script. You do write a script, right? Go through your script, check every phrase, not even every sentence, but every phrase. Does this reduce fear? Does this increase greed? If it doesn't, cut it out. You don't need it. I would much rather you got a few ideas across really clearly than you tried to cram everything in as fast as you can, because all the details are so important. And if we don't talk fast enough, we're not going to have everything incorporated into it. And therefore, they're going to miss something really important. That's exhausting. It's exhausting for you. It's exhausting for them. Make it simple. You'll stand out more. In fact, one way to think about it is, you'll notice I often have a lot of white space on my slides. That's because I want you to focus on the main point. I don't want you distracted by a bunch of decorations and stuff. Pausing, taking a breath, doing those kinds of things, do the same thing on the audio level. Okay? I don't know why my voice is going crazy already. Anyway, I've been yelling for 2 days, that's why. All right. Now, the reason this works, and if you don't like this idea of fear and greed, if that feels really uncomfortable, humans are better than that. God, I hope you're right. And also, you can use other words, pain and pleasure, risk and benefit, whatever works for you. But the fact is that we evolved as emotional beings, right? That's why facts often fail to change minds. The first aspect of this is the lizard brain. Now, this is an overly simplistic way to look at it, but it does represent the way decision-making happens, right? So the earliest versions of brains were reptilian. Oh my God, it's gonna eat me, or hey, baby, as the kind of two extremes of instant reactions, right? And as brains evolved and got more complex, we also built into this shades of gray, other kinds of aspects of fear and greed. And the human neocortex does a pretty great job of allowing us to use logic and rational thought to change our minds and to build cases. The problem is we still have this part. We still have that reptile in there. I mean, it's all integrated and everything. There's not like 3 separate layers. But here's the issue. This is literally how fast these 3 processes take place. So that lizard is making a decision about information. You are building on top of that, but the problem is that the way our brains evolved was to reinforce the initial reaction. So if you have an initial reaction that is the opposite of what you want or what you deserve, you're going to have to fight against this process to make people believe it, as opposed to if we can help them get excited about it right from the start and then build on that, you're going to have an easier time, okay? I had to cut out a whole bunch of slides here, so we're going to these two are sort of related anyway. You want to avoid the confirmation bias. I'm scared of this, I'm going to stay scared of it, and I'm never going to invest in it. Or, hey, I'm really excited about this really bad idea, but I'm so excited about it, I'm going to ignore the bad stuff and go and invest in it when I really should. Theranos. Oops, oh, that's not the way that was supposed to be, huh? That is so my fault. I just don't make slides right before a thing. Pretend different motivations isn't there. All right. The whole point to a pitch is to build a bridge between you and the people who share your values and your vision, okay? You should be thoughtful about what it is you want from your life. Do you want to be rich? Do you want to have balance between family and work? Sure, startup company is probably the best for that, at least for a couple of years, but maybe. Do you want to change the world or some part of the world? What matters to you? Wanting to be rich is perfectly fine. Most important, be honest with yourself, okay? Figure that out. Can your startup do the same thing for you? Does it fit within what your values are? And then finally, as you're moving forward and accomplishing goals, what do you need to keep things moving forward? And who can you get it from? Okay? What is it that they want? Because it doesn't matter what you want from their perspective. They need to know that you can satisfy what they need. What do they want from their life, from their business, and from this next meeting with you? Now, it's impossible to know that as well about them as you do about you, although social media and so on make it a lot easier. I am going to strongly encourage you to go to their websites, go to their social media posts, to do whatever you can to know as much as you possibly can about your audience to make it better, okay? Now, a lot of them will have different motivations, right? You're pitching to an investor, chances are their primary motivation is to make 10 to 15 times return on investment in 3 to 5 years or whatever their philosophy is. You may have your primary motivation being, I want to save people from cancer, right? Motivations can be very different. What cannot be different is the vision. They have to share your vision and they need to share, oops, hey, dude, they need to share, PowerPoint. They need to share your values as well, right? If you can share values and vision, you can resolve the different motivation type stuff. If they've got very different values, or if they don't agree with your vision, it's going to be fight after fight after fight, ending in an ugly divorce that will be painful emotionally and especially financially. Okay, so the purpose to a great pitch is to build this bridge of shared vision and shared values to get them as excited about what you're doing as you are. Okay. So now we get into my tools, all my favorite tools. How am I doing on time? I'm actually doing not too terribly bad, believe it or not. Okay, so I have 10 simple questions every pitch should answer, and then I immediately ruin that by saying, guess what? I have an 11th question. I'm cheating by calling it question 0. But it's useful because you should answer this question before you even think about how you're going to structure the rest of your pitch. Who is your audience? Is it standard kinds of investors, the people who have that financial return on investment. They may also care about the time they're investing, their reputation, and so on. I wish for each of you the chance someday to pitch to the general public, because that's what an initial public offering is, right? Very exciting opportunity. For many of you, I think it's great if you can pitch to a foundation or the government to get grant money. Why? It's non-dilutive, right? You can build your company without losing any pieces of it. Now, you cannot go to a grant manager and say, hey, I'm going to get you 10 to 15 times return on your investment here, because that is called a bribe and is generally frowned upon. Instead, you need to understand, how is this person evaluated? What is important? Is it the demographics? Does he have to spend his budget for this fiscal year? Does she care about this technology or that market? What's most important? How do they get evaluated? Get to know them as much as you can so you can help them look like the good guys. Okay? Partners, collaborators, employers, employees, these are all people who are investing in you. They're believing in you in order to get some kind of return on investment. But we're still missing the most important investor. Well, you guys are your most important investor, right? Because without you, no company, right? But the most important investor after that is customers, right? Because if you cannot convince enough people to give you their hard-earned money for your products and services, you don't have a business, and none of these other guys matters in the slightest, okay? Remember that every person who takes the time to listen to you when everybody else wants to pitch to them, and maybe they want to go home and have a drink, remember they are trusting you not to waste their time, to learn something exciting about what's going on. So be kind to them. Remember that they are investing trust in you, even if they never offer you anything else. So think about who they are. If you don't know them, ask some questions. Get to know what matters to them first. Preferably know something about them ahead of time, and then know their particular fear and greed. I'm going to be giving you generic fear and greed for everything as we go along. So you can always start there, but I encourage you, refine, refine, refine. Okay, 10 questions. All right, so here's the issue, right? The reason it's so hard to pitch well is you know all of these details. You know how hard it is to turn your idea into something actually functional, right? You've got all of these different aspects to it that you understand. And, it's a big fat mess because things change every day. External influences, internal influences, the Murphy's Law strikes, all kinds of things go wrong. And you've got to keep it all straight in your head, right? Problem is, no one wants to know this, especially before they've thought about investing in you. In order to win what you want, you need a nice, simple, linear story that makes it really, really easy for your company your audience to understand it. In fact, I like to touch on each idea here once. One thing that tends to make pitches too long is people will talk about a problem and the solution, then they go back to another problem and a different solution. That really slows things down, one at a time, okay? All right, so here they are, the 10 questions. It took me many years to figure these out, so take advantage. Each of these touches on a different aspect of fear and greed that I know business people care about. First one is mostly about the market pain, knowing your customer and how much they are paying right now to deal with this problem. Second one, what's the solution? What's special about your solution? Don't just tell me it's a miracle happens, oh, we've got great technology. It's too complicated for you. Don't worry, we'll take care of it. It's very patronizing. Let your investors know what is sexy about what you're doing. Competitive advantage, that is in terms of benefits and not features. More about that later. How you're going to stay ahead, that's your barriers, that's the sustainability of your competitive advantage. Then we go to, does it work? That's your proof of concept and or traction if we are fortunate enough to be that far along. How will you make money? Business model. Please do not give me a price sheet and then tell me that this is your business model. That is not how you're getting out to the marketplace. That's not how you're scaling your business. I need to understand that you understand how your business fits in with your customer's business. Financial projections. How much will you make with this smart business model? Lots to say about that, but we're not going to do it right now. Okay. Why you? Team is the most important aspect of your pitch, right? Because people invest in people more than they do in the technology. Why do I have it all the way back here at question 8? It's because If I introduce them at the beginning and the audience doesn't yet understand your value proposition, they can't appreciate your awesome capabilities. Whereas if we get through the value proposition and then you talk about your team, they can say, oh, God, this is a great team. This is a perfect team for these particular things. It makes sense. Now, if you happen to have, God help you, Elon Musk on your team, then yeah, I would lead with that. I would put that as the first slide. Maybe. All depends. Anyway, the other point I want to make is this is the order of the questions that I find works most often for my early stage companies, but it's not written in stone. I almost always start with question 1, like 99% of the time, and I always end with questions 9 and 10. Everything in between depends on what's most important to the audience and what I've got the best answers for. Okay, and we end with the plan and the ask. All right, and once you do that, here's the cool part, okay? You got strong answers to all 10 questions. Now, we can make a 10-minute version of your pitch. I guarantee you I can answer all 10 questions in 10 minutes. Done it 1,000 times, I can do it for you. And even better, when you have less time to pitch, what do? You talk for less time. You say fewer things. You pick and choose the ones that are most important to that particular audience. You don't try to press everything in here. But you know what happens? You do a good job on that pitch, you get questions. And you know what? You got answers because you already answered the 10 questions. You're in great shape. Same thing when you do written versions of this, executive summaries, one-pagers, roll-ups, whatever it is. And same thing with digital. On your website, do you answer the 10 questions, a couple of the questions in every section? Do you make an ask? Sign up for our newsletter, become a beta tester, call us for a demo. Don't forget to take advantage of it. It's your 24/7 pitch. Make it work for you. When you have less time, I know I just said this. I actually skipped a slide here where I said when you're talking to customers, you have to vary this a little bit, right? If you're going to pitch to a customer, you're not going to tell them how much you're going to make off of them, right? That would be a bad thing. But instead, you would say how much they're going to make if they're smart enough to buy from you, right? But if you have less time, answer fewer questions, different media, answer fewer questions, think about the audience, make sure that you are getting the kind of information that they care about, not your favorite stuff. Okay, and I'm not going through this right now, so go ahead and take a picture if you wish. These are my 10 questions for 2 different kinds of audiences. First bullet in each row is how I think about reducing fear. Second one is how I think about increasing greed. The bolded stuff doesn't show very well on pop-ins, but the bolded stuff is what's different between the 2 different kinds of audiences. Okay? All right. Okay, so we're about to dive into the 10 questions and what is special about each of them. Any questions? We all set? We're actually making really good time. I'm very excited. This is very unlike me. Okay, so question number 1 is who cares? And this is kind of a joke picture because when you go pitch to investors, they're not going to be this young, and there probably won't be 2 women for every guy. Am I right, ladies? Hopefully that's changing with the younger generation here. But what is 100% true is this. Okay? People want to say no. Life gets more complicated. You know this. As soon as you say yes to a new opportunity, you have to spend time learning it. You have to spend money on it. You have to do all of this other stuff. It's like that for investors, only much, much worse, right? Because their entire livelihood depends on, did I make the right choice? And they know statistically out of 10 yeses, 1 will be a big winner. Probably 3 will be abject failures. 3 or so will be pretty good. And the others are going to rot and just sit there and suck in time and resources for years. So it's very scary. So you can almost feel sorry for them. I don't encourage you actually feeling sorry for them, but you can feel a little sorry that they've got a very scary decision to make. So they're looking for reasons to say no to you. It's better for them when they say no. So your job is to make sure right from that first slide, you're telling them why they should care. Why they care is because there is somebody with a problem who cares about a better solution for that, okay? So we want to be sure we cover the market pain. You know who the customer is. If you have not interviewed dozens, and I do mean dozens of customers already about what their problems are, then don't go and pitch to an investor. Talk to customers. Try to talk to 100 customers, please. That's the best way to know. Well, actually, the best way to know you've got the right solution is to get money from them. But if you're before that stage, at least go in and, well, I think I have I don't think I took this slide out. Okay. And talking to the customer will also help you do a bottom-up analysis of the market size, which is crucial. Okay, a lot of people will just go on Google or look at a market study or something and say, oh, it's $1 billion market. How do you know? How does this relate to your specific product? I want to know that you've talked to customers who say, yes, we're spending X amount of euros every single month in order to solve this particular problem. Wish to God I had a better solution. It could be a little more expensive, but I'd rather it was cheaper. Now you have a way to say, okay, I know who the customer is, how many there are, and how much they're paying. Multiply those together, you now have a bottom-up market analysis that gives you credibility with the investor, which is what you need to stand out from everybody else who says, ooh, $1 billion market. Okay, the fear we are trying to reduce here is that only your mom and your best friend are going to buy one each of what you make, okay? The greed we're trying to increase is that people are going to line up around the block, you know, and wait for 4 hours to buy it from you like they used to do for iPhones. Those are the two extremes, right? You're never going to get one of those two extremes. What I want you to do is to be thinking about those and how can we push them more towards the greed and push away the fear, okay? They have to be in enough pain. If they are not willing to spend money on it, you're building a company that has no future, okay? And they have to have the budget for it. You know, people are starving everywhere. You want to get food to them. They don't have the money to pay you. You can't convince an organization to fund you. It doesn't matter. You cannot live on love alone yourselves either, right? It's a terrible example. I can't believe I just used it. But by the same token, it is a great way to emphasize crucial problems go unsolved because there's not enough money available. You're starting a company, you need to be focusing, and maybe eventually you can have a nonprofit aspect that does what you really care about. But if there's no money in it, you've got to get your own company sustainable and successful so you can fund the nonprofit aspect of it. Okay? All right. So after interviewing your customers, and please just, how am I doing? When you go, when you go and talk to customers, I just want you to avoid the #1 mistake I see people make, which is to go up and say, hey, hi, it's so great to meet you. I have this perfect product for you. Isn't it beautiful? And I have spent months and months making this thing, and I really think it's going to solve all your problems. Would you be interested in it?
No, thank you.
Tough customers. So usually people don't really like to say no to you directly, not even investors. And what they'll say instead is, you know, really, I mean, they'll say things like, yeah, that's great. Come back and see us when you have a customer. And what they really mean is, please go away. What other people will often say is, yeah, that looks awesome. Congratulations. Can I have it in pink? And you're like, yeah, great. Run back to work for 6 months. Oh, look, it's pink. Look, I have a pink one just for you. Can I have 5,000 euros? No. That's when they say, no, hell no. Okay, so that's the problem if you don't interview customers. Instead, if you interview customers by saying, look what I got, instead take your baby, stick it in your back pocket, make sure it's got oxygen, and go in and say, what went wrong in your life today? Where are you struggling with your particular job? Blah, blah, blah. You get focused on the right area. I won't put you on the spot, partly because I'm running late. Okay. Let the people complain to you so you can really understand what's going wrong and determine, do you have a solution that actually works? Or are you in love with your technology and trying to push it into a place where it doesn't fit? If you discover there's a poor fit, then you have a choice to make. Do I change customers? Have I gone and interviewed the wrong people? Do I pivot what I'm doing? Or do I decide I need a whole new technology? Right? You cannot do that well unless you have the data from the customers. All right, next thing, segment your market. You need to be focused like a laser on getting into early revenue, having early adopters and that kind of thing, right? At the same time, you know what people want you to do is to tell you that, oh, we've got a huge opportunity, billions of dollars of opportunity out there. Now, I'm not a big fan of the total addressable market because that seems insanely big to me. I like to think more in terms of the SAM and the SOM and all that stuff. But really, I have to tell you, my heart is actually with that serviceable, obtainable market, and most especially with the beachhead, right? Because if you're a pre-revenue startup, that's where all the action is. That's where the traction is going to happen. That's where we're going to find out if you've got something real. But you still have to know them both. You are walking a tightrope when you are pitching to investors where on the one side, you are focused like a laser on early revenue, and on the other side, humongous opportunity. It's not fair, but you have to do both. All right. I discovered just a few years ago, considering I've been doing this since 2005, it's kind of funny it took me this long, but I finally realized that when I was struggling to make a pitch really work, it was not writer's block like I thought. It was because I had done a crap job of answering question 1. That's why I'm spending so much time on question 1. You gotta get this right. And you gotta do it by talking to customers, okay? Number 1, do you know what problem you are solving specifically? Do you have it quantified? Do you know who is going to make the purchasing decision, how they make their purchasing decisions? Are you confident that if you could make it tomorrow, they would buy it tomorrow? Do you know who it is that has them, how many of them there are, how much they're willing to spend on it? And bonus points. So the first 3 you can use for that bottom-up market assessment. This last one, how are current solutions failing? So if you can nail that, then when they, when you talk about your solution, answering question number 2, see how neat that is, you can make it clear what differentiates you from everybody else. So for instance, I had a client who was doing renewable high-end chemicals. And the problem is, so the opportunity is out of an oil barrel, 30% of the margin comes from just 9% of the content. It's phenomenal, right? Those are the high-end chemicals as opposed to just stuff we burn up because apparently we don't care. There are lots of people who are trying to take a renewables approach to it, but they are not very high quality, they're very expensive, and so on. My client had a new way to do the renewables that delivered high purity, high performance products. But you can see that that's a nice, smooth introduction. Let's just keep going. All right, we're just gonna keep going here. All right, okay, so how's this going? Am I talking too fast? Okay, okay. All right, question number 2, my favorite question. This is also a joke picture though, because you're never gonna have this combination of mathematics and chemistry and physics all on the same slide. Used to be though, when I got decks, they all look like this. I'd just be like, oh my God, that's a lot of science to untangle. These days, you guys will send me technology slides that look like, it's a waterfall or a shooting star or something. It's like, not that Steve Jobs, okay? Back off the Jobs stuff. Let's dig into what is important about how your technology works to solve the problem. This is your solution. It is most especially your secret sauce. Do not tell me you can't talk about your secret sauce because you're giving away your proprietary information. You have to learn how to talk about what's special about what you do without giving away proprietary stuff, okay? And you can do that in a language that I can understand. And we do this primarily by talking about what you do rather than how it works. How it works is almost always the proprietary part. What it does, that's different. If just telling people what you do is enough for them to steal it and beat your company, you have a big problem. Because as soon as you get your product to market, everybody else is going to be able to do it. Don't worry so much about hiding what you do. You're going to be more likely to get partners and have other advantages if you talk about what. Just don't give away how, okay? All right, the fear we're trying to reduce here is that you're really smart, you're really innovative, but you want my money so you can go and play in the laboratory or on the computer, right? On the green side of things, not only are these guys sharp and innovative, but they also are focused like a laser on what? Getting that first product out the door. This is my all-time favorite terrible technology slide. This was a great guy, Brian Ahern, who is doing a retrofit to diesel engines. The US EPA was changing the amount of particles that could come out of big diesel engines for trucks. And so he came up with all of this fancy stuff. And guess how that changed everything? Look at that. How's everybody feeling about their thermodynamics background right now? Pressure volume curve, so we're going to increase it this way and increase it that way versus what we had originally. Dark backgrounds, very hard to work with, limits the number of colors you can go with. Careful about using dark type on it. We've got a great projector here. I've had many projectors in which you could not see the words at all. Be careful. White background is always easier to work with, even if it's a little boring. Anyway, this is a lot of science to be asking in terms of the initial pitch, okay? Unless you know you're talking to all engineers, in which case, okay. But for the most part, what I said to Brian was, so what is it you want? Are you trying to impress them with how brilliant you are, or do you want to impress them with what an amazing opportunity you're providing, right? You want the second one for that initial pitch so that they are willing to take the time to come and learn the other stuff. So we changed it to this. All right, so for a diesel engine, push up the piston, set off the spark plug, and you get a little spark, pushes the piston down, and everything moves forward. What we do to burn it better and cleaner is we put a actually charged water particles, believe it or not, directly into the fuel, and the result is we get a much bigger spark. It burns more cleanly, and we wind up with less particles and more fuel efficiency. So what I submit to you is it's easier to get across small spark, lots of waste, big spark, great burn, as opposed to, do you remember PV curves from thermodynamics? Okay? Engineers out here, I know you hate me right now. Okay, all right. Question number 3, my favorite question. Why will you win? This is all about your competitive advantage. The fear we're trying to reduce is that, oh, I've seen a company just like this 5 times in the last 6 months. Forget about it, nothing here. Now, I know you're doing something new and different. You know you're doing something new and different because you wouldn't be doing it if you weren't better than what's already out there. Problem is, if the investor doesn't get it, it doesn't matter how right you are, right? They have to understand it too. So and I put the word disruptive in here to remind me to say, please don't use words like disruptive, okay? Disruptive, revolutionary, conservative, all of those extremes are words they hear every single day. They have no power anymore. What I want you to do is to frame your competitive advantage in such a way that they go, wow, that's going to revolutionize this industry. Because if they come to that conclusion themselves, they're more likely to believe it and to even remember it for you, okay? All right, how many here think they have no competition? It's just another excuse to drink coffee. Go ahead and raise your hand. All right, fine, be that way. Don't say you have no competition. There's only 3 possibilities. You're correct, you have no competition. That means you also have to build a market. Right? Because there's nobody out there selling into it. So it may be true, but in addition to the new technology, you got a new market, not easier, harder. Okay. Second possibility is you're correct, you're incorrect. You have competition. You're just too lazy to do your homework. And I can pretty much guarantee the investors have done the homework and they are not going to be impressed. Third possibility is you think you're the smartest person on the planet and so no one can possibly compete with you. I have had 4 people who believe that about themselves. So at least 3 of them are wrong. And I'm probably you as well. Okay. All right, so don't tell, it's just not an advantage. Focus on benefits and not features. Difference is if you walk into a dark room and you flip the light switch, do you care if the light comes on or what the mechanism is behind the switch plate, right? We want lights to come on. Stop telling me, well, I got a slide on it, never mind. Talk about the full competitive spectrum, not just the others who are doing something similar to you, but what are people doing right now today? People are lazy. They don't like to change what they are doing unless there's a really good reason for it. Make sure you show how much better you are than business as usual. Okay, so when I say features and benefits, so let's say a feature of your innovation is that you've got a high performance engine. Great, what's the benefit? Well, it could be it goes really fast. You're going to win races, you're going to win groupies, have a good time, get new sponsors, all kinds of good stuff. Or maybe by high performance, you actually mean fuel efficient, greener, more economical. Which one of these does your customer care about? Which one of these does your feature actually serve, right? This is kind of a joke example, right? It's an extreme, but I really want you to think about it. This is actually one of the exercises from my online course. And what I encourage people to do is to sit down as a team and try to go, make many more columns of this. What's the benefit of the benefit of the benefit of the benefit until you run out of things. And the other thing you often get then is you'll see similar ideas popping up in multiple places, and that will really help you nail where your advantage lies. All right, so you don't have to show the matrix, but all of my clients will build the matrix because this is the best way to organize the way you think about your competitive advantage, okay? So start off with no more than 4 or maybe 5 lights you are turning on for your customers and turn them into a simple benefit, okay? And I only want 4 or 5 because remember, your audience is gonna have maybe 40 to 80 seconds to digest what's on your slide. More columns than this, you're losing them. You gotta keep the benefits framed very simply, and you need to frame them in a way that allows you to use an icon. No words, no numbers, and no ranges of numbers. It's too much information, it's too confusing. Okay, we do it across the top like that because at least in the Western world, it's easier to read from left to right to tell a story. And that way we also get to put the competitors in the first column and we get to put you at the top. So subconsciously, you're number 1, yay team. And then when you get to this, don't just sit here and read one cell after another. I'm gonna tell a story, which I'll do in just a moment, because I forgot to say, this is just your competitive advantage. It's your niche. It's not everything. You should have a competitive landscape where you have explored all of the different variables, including the ones for which you are not as good as everybody else. Be aware of it. That means, since we're just talking about your niche here, never insult the competition. They are doing something right, especially business as usual. They exist. You are struggling to get in there. Clearly, they're doing something right, all right? So for instance, I might say, we've spoken with 75 customers about this in this space. It's a really crowded space, so we've got both business as usual and emerging competitors in a number of regions that have done a great job of addressing parts of benefit 2, parts of benefit 3. But what our customers have told us is that they need this combination of benefits 1, 2, 3, and 4. And as you can see, we're the only ones who can provide that combination. Okay, so that way you're not insulting them, you're just focused on what the customer actually needs. Yes, 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 don't nag at me. All right, we have 15 minutes left, so I think. Do we have 15 minutes left? Am I okay? So I'll set an alarm for 10 minutes, okay. Now, if you don't like the matrix, I encourage the matrix just because it makes your life simpler, and God knows your life is complicated enough as it is. But if you want, you can do the 2x2 kind of a magic square, or this one's kind of fun if you have relatively few competitors, right? So this is a company that takes denim and damages it, you know, so we can have cool looking jeans right off the rack. Unfortunately, very bad for the environment, really horrible. There are a couple of other companies that were at this green chemistry conference that were better at sustainability, but were not very good on price and performance. My client, in contrast, was better than all of the competition out there, and they're actually doing super duper well. It's very cool. But you can see this is about as complicated as you can afford to be. So be careful. Remember, your primary reason for your slides is to communicate something easily for the audience. You don't want them going, what in the hell? Because if they're doing that, they're not listening to you. Okay, question number 4, my favorite question. How are you going to stay ahead? This is your competitive advantage landscape made sustainable, okay? You've got to have exclusivity. You've got to have a way of keeping yourself ahead. The fear we're trying to reduce here is that people are always scared about dealing with startup companies. You know, chances are not bad you're going to be gone in 6 months. Make sure you stay in touch with people so they can retain confidence. Even if you are missing a milestone, you know, don't do what is human nature to do. It's just say, well, maybe next week it'll be better, or the week after that. And next thing you know, 2 months has gone by and all of a sudden you've lost all your relationships, okay? And on the greed side of things, you want to push, here's how we're going to make you successful going into the next decade. Make sure that the company owns your intellectual property. No investor is investing in a company that doesn't have clear, exclusive rights to the intellectual property. Usually maybe a patent, maybe trademarks, whatever it is. You can't, the person who invented it cannot own it. It's got to go with the company. Otherwise, the person who owns the company can say, well, I'm just going to take my ball and go home. I don't like you guys anymore. And so you're in big trouble then, and that's why investors won't invest in that. I'm not an attorney. I'm also going to zip through this because it's just too much. when I talk about, you got to talk about secret sauce and your competitive advantage and your intellectual property in a way that communicates what's valuable without giving away the secret sauce. You can do it safely because what really matters in terms of being successful is your ability to execute. Innovations, there's lots of great ideas out there, not as many as investors think there are. Really smart innovations that are support a great value proposition are hard to come by. But execution is what really transforms people from being kind of successful to, wow, we're going to make this really work. Okay, so try not to worry about revealing that. Learn how to talk about your innovation. And then erect barriers to entry, trade secrets that, well, let's see, I think I threw out so many slides on this. Okay. The problem is patents are very expensive, and even though they're the best protection you can have, they're also very expensive to defend. Trademarks, copyrights are pretty cheap to do, but they're hard to defend as well. Trade secrets only last as long as you treat people well, okay? Talk to an attorney, always somebody who is experienced in your market, your technology, and with startups. Okay, accelerators are great that way. They usually have lots of mentors who understand law, so take advantage of that. In all cases, make sure you're thinking about how much it's going to cost today in order to give you an advantage for how much time. Is it really worth it? Okay. And all attorneys cost the same in the end. You either pay up front for the cost of a good one or you pay in the long run to fix the mistakes of a mediocre one. We're just going to skip that. Hi. And move on to question number 5. We're towards the end of the first one. Okay, so hi. So question number 5, my favorite question, does it work? Okay, this is your proof of concept and preferably traction. People, the most certain you'll ever be about whether your products are valuable is when someone is willing to give you money. Talk is cheap. Engineering talk is especially cheap because people love to talk about new technologies. Talk to the decision makers and have them give you money, then you've got real proof that people want it. Okay, the fear we're trying to reduce here is that you just want my money, so again, you can play in the lab or on the computer or whatever it is. And the greed side of things is, wow, these people are focused, they know where they're going, they're on their way to early revenue or even better to break even. Engineers, my darlings, it's really crucially important that you think carefully about how to communicate with your audience. You're going to have, even if the investors or your other audience has some technical capabilities, the chances of them being expert in your area are slim and none, okay? This was a client of mine who had invented a new treatment for asthma. And the best model for asthma is a sheep. And he said, look how great this is. Can you see how much better my technology is than everybody else's? No, PhD, all right? I'm not an idiot here. I'm not immune to science. I'm like, I have no idea. They all look like improvements. Why are you telling me yours is better? So I took the very same data and I translated it. Okay, so this is what happens to the sheep when you induce an asthma attack. Eventually the breathing comes back. Standard kind of solution, you get immediate relief, but it actually gets worse over time. But the new technology lets you get better and better. Yes, I see it. Thank you. Go away. So that is easy for anybody to understand that this is working. Okay? Okay. Question number 6, my favorite question. How are you going to make money? This is your business model, your value chain. You want to reduce the fear that you're just throwing out words. Oh, we're first movers, we're fast followers, jargon, 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 jargon. You can believe us. And instead, you want to increase the greed by showing you are duplicating success. Look at those competitors you did a careful analysis of for question number 3 so that you can go back and say, we're doing it, we're copying the successes of these guys and avoiding the mistakes that they made. We just have to keep going. What this is trying to show is don't try to have every product ready at the same time. If you try to be all things to all people, you wind up being nothing to nobody. Okay? If you like what do you call it? What is the name of this? A business model canvas, right? That's a very popular tool. It doesn't work for me. My brain doesn't work that way. I draw flowcharts, okay? I think about where do I sit with respect to the customers. And so if I'm pitching to an investor, I'm thinking about especially how am I going to scale this business model over time, because that's what they want to see. If you are pitching to a customer, you want to show this is how we fit inside of your business model. All right, and this is not so new anymore, I guess. But if you want to have a platform, flip it over so it goes vertically, right? Talk about who your supplier, what the inputs are to your platform, how you're going to reach your end users, and then how you're going to scale over time, and how you're going to capture data from that user so that you can build and make a more and more successful platform over time. This is how I find it easy to work on it. If the business model canvas or anybody else, other tool works better for you, use it. Question number 7. Guess what? Favorite question? Yeah, thank you. Back of the room is still awake. Financial projections. Okay. I love financial projections. Okay. Everybody hates them because what do they say? Oh, you can't count on those. It's sheer speculation. Exactly which part of the rest of this has not been speculation? I mean, we got a lot of good data in there, but a lot of it is speculation. And what's great about financial projections is you can use numbers to tell the same story you just told in words. And that's important because a lot of people get so excited about the market size and then they wind up talking about a little tiny revenue, or vice versa. They're suddenly going to be billionaires, 6 months down the road. Being consistent with your financial projections will help keep you centered on this. Be aggressive but realistic. I would encourage you to do an optimistic, pessimistic, and realistic versions, and I would pitch the hell out of the optimistic version, okay? Your competition, the other entrepreneurs pitching to investors, are probably using their optimistic version, so you want to be on board with that. Plus, if an investor says, yeah, that seems a little optimistic, what happens if another COVID hits? God help us, no, please don't. But if it did, what's happening to your projections? Now you already have a case that is there for backup. Keep it simple. I've had investors say, I don't want to see any more in financials. They're all speculation. Which I'm like, so does it make your investment decisions without thinking about what the financial projections might be? Is that what you're telling me? It's like, no, of course I do financial projections. Okay, so if you know that they don't like to see them, don't show them. Do them for yourself. You've got to be able to talk the language of numbers for everybody. Okay, do not put up a spreadsheet like this. There's a $500,000 mistake in the middle of this just don't do it. It's mean to your audience. This is my way of doing it. Hey, we've got an initial product, then we've got our fast growth product. Our EBITDA looks like this, so we hit break even in 2022, and we're doing that on 20 million users or whatever you want to call on that. But anyway, question number 8. Guess what? Thank you. This is your leadership team. Stay very focused on experience over education, right? I told you I'd coached 1,000 people, $1.3 billion. And then later I said, MIT, Stanford, would you care if I dropped out of high school? I'm guessing not, right? You care about whether I can deliver. So do investors, so do customers. Question number 9. Question number 9 is the development plan. All right, this is crucial. This is what you're going to accomplish with their money and what you have accomplished. Be focused, be aggressive, and make it make sense in terms of getting to your big vision. I'm going to show you how you do this. I like to use a Gantt chart. You'll notice it goes up from left to right because investors like things that go up from left to right. Right, Bogey? Okay, so the arrows represent the amount of time for each phase of the business. The bullets represent milestones that they're going to accomplish by the end of each of these time frames. And we answer question number 10, how much does it cost? Just by putting that in there. So the amount of money at the beginning is how much you need in order to fund your activities across that period of time, the length of the arrow, to achieve those milestones. Investors buy milestones. They want big successes. They want to see that your company has lowered risk and increased value in the time frame. That's what they're paying for. They're paying for you to deliver. Okay? And if you're talking to a customer or a partner, you can just change the time frame here and say, we would love you to get to license our technology. I'm almost done, I swear. They want to license your technology, but I understand you're not ready to make the commitment. Let's do a joint project together. First 10K, we'll meet with your team, do the prototype development, then the next payment of 30K so we can do the prototype itself and do a couple iterations, and then finally do a final round of testing and then give you the documentation. Okay, that will give you the information you need to make a yes/no decision on the license. I'm guaranteeing you, you're going to want to do the license. Other ways to show it if you don't like my way. Please don't pitch what your valuation is. That is a negotiation. That should wait until you guys are ready to, when they're ready to sit down and have some discussions, okay? This is a really great way to think about it. This company, which is under the green bar there, has talked about all of these valuations, et cetera, of different companies that are similar and shown when they got acquired or exited based on their development stage. Do this kind of homework. You're going to be in a great position to really think about valuation and communicate it with the investor. All right, one of the things I didn't take the time for through the whole thing here was to say consistency yields credibility. Start with an important problem, quantify it, provide a viable and innovative solution, establish a sustainable competitive advantage, questions 3 and 4, show that you are meeting minimum customer requirements so they're willing to give you money for it, show you know how to scale the business, and how much that is going, when you're going to have the market penetration that you want, show you've got the right team for it, then have an aggressive and focused plan and budget to go forward. Not stopping here, just going to point out that the 10 questions are supporting this whole framework I gave you earlier. Take advantage of your titles, biggest font, top of the page. Use it to make the one point you want everyone to get from that slide. Branding, you noticed, logo, page number, copyright, and contact information on every page. Everybody here who has enjoyed this and wants to work with me and took a picture of a slide knows how to get in touch with me, okay? Go ahead and use whatever you want for slides, things, but for graphic design, but they're just not designed. Canva is not designed as a presentation platform. Use theme fonts, colors, and placeholders. You want more on that, drop by my website in about a month. Keep it simple, not just be pretty. 100% I think PowerPoint is your most useful platform, okay? All right, we're at the end. What I want for all of you, pitch the company you want to build. Pitch what you care about, what you're passionate for. Don't just tell a story because you think some people might buy into it, because then you're building the company they want. Tell your story. Tell it in your way. Make it compelling to your audience. And remember, life's a pitch. Make yours amazing. And I wish you all the very best of luck and success. Thank you so very much for your attention. Wow. Thank you so much. That was so nice.